Okay, so we are here this evening with author and lifelong intuitive Sue Frederick. Her work, described as a breath of fresh air and an enlightened new perspective, has been featured in the New York Times, CNN, Real Simple, Yoga Journal, Complete Woman, Natural Health, Fit Yoga, and at venues like Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York, and the Caritas Center in Boulder, Colorado, a few years ago, which is now the Caritas Consciousness Project. She's been interviewed on more than 200 radio and TV shows, including Bridging Heaven and Earth. She's the author of 9 books, right, Sue?
Yeah.
9 books, including I See Your Dream Job, A Career Intuitive's Guide to Finding the Work You Came Here to Do, and I See Your Soulmate, An Intuitive's Guide to Finding and Keeping Love, Bridges to Heaven, True Stories of Loved Ones on the Other Side, Your Divine Lens, and Water Oak, The Happiness of Longing. So as you can see, she's a busy and talented lady. So here this evening for your enjoyment and evolving consciousness is Sue Frederick. Raise your hand, Sue. So people know who you are. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I think it'd be great if everybody could mute themselves just for the moment while I give this talk. The talk will be pretty short because we have a small group, but if everybody's muted, then we won't have feedback. We won't have the sound. So what I want to start by talking about today is what we're being called to learn or to change ourselves in these amazing times that we're living in. Right before we got started, we were talking about, especially now, with all the rioting and the anger and the pandemic. And I mean, all you have to do is go on Facebook and you can just see there are no happy hey, this is what I had for dinner post anymore. Everybody seems to be very upset about taking one side or another, even if it's about, should I wear a mask or not? The most basic, simple questions are taking on a huge debate, a huge intellectual, cognitive dissonance happening. You're either on this side or that side, and suddenly your beliefs are more important than your compassion, than your heart. And I think all of this started a few years ago, and this is really the culmination of it. And I think what we're trying to learn, I think what our collective consciousness is trying to learn is that at the end of the day, there's no right and wrong answers that will solve everything. We'll never have everybody on the same page until we open our hearts and learn to love each other, to learn to show our wisdom, our compassion, our goodness to each other, to find in ourselves enough love and forgiveness that we forgive ourselves for our moments of anger, for our moments of arguing with somebody, especially like, for example, in my family, I'm from the deep South, and you never want to discuss politics with my redneck brothers. And so occasionally I'll have a crazy exchange with my brother, Jim, and then I have to really work on not only forgiving my brother in my heart, but forgiving myself. So I think this is a huge time of all of us learning those higher spiritual lessons that we are divine beings. We all came here on purpose to evolve and help each other evolve, to open our hearts and see the beautiful soul inside of everyone and focus on that, not on personality, on ego, on ideas. And I say that we have a place inside of us that I call the sacred place of Most High. And we can go to that place if we have a daily practice of some kind of meditation or affirmative prayer where we go into the silence and we connect to our divinity, to our divine consciousness. That is what we have to all be doing at least 20 minutes a day, or we are losing our awareness that we are more than physical beings. And in my books, if you've read any of my books, you know that I've been teaching prayer meditation, for 30 years. And I think that without daily meditation, most of us can be kind of crazy, because meditation quiets the monkey mind, opens the heart, connects us to our soul, our intuition, our divine wisdom. And without that connection, we end up going about this physical world just arguing with everyone, stuck in our heads, focused on our physical awareness, our physical bodies, our physical chores, and forgetting that we are divine beings who came here on purpose. And I've been really talking a lot in these last couple of months about one of my favorite energy shifters called sweetness. And I write about the energy shifters in all of my books. And I believe that we've got to see some tricks, some spiritual tricks in our pocket for times like this that we can pull out and bring to our personal lives, and even just bring to us going out in the world to the grocery store. And what I call that is EPR, is energetic personal resuscitation, humor, gratitude, and sweetness. But today I really want to just talk about sweetness, because I think that at the core of our beings, when we really just strip away our egos, our beliefs, our ideas, all the defenses and pretenses that we go around with, when we strip it all away and we get back to our spiritual essence, we are sweet as a newborn baby in our souls. I want you to think of the last time you held a newborn baby in your arms, just that beautiful, sweet energy where your soul recognized your own beautiful, sweet essence and went there to meet the baby's essence. That is who we all are, even today. And if you can bring that awareness to the world right now, I believe we can help shift it. Because right now what we're seeing is the opposite of sweetness. We're seeing meanness, really. And meanness means really that people are just afraid and protected and defended, and so they're acting out that way. But at our core, if we can find that sweetness, so for example, an exercise is when you go out to a store and you see someone being rude or doing something with or without a mask that offends you, instead of being angry, see that person as a sweet, newborn, innocent baby, just pure, authentic soul, and just send them a moment of that kind of love, that kind of connection, and then move on. And if we could begin to spread that sweet energy that between us and out to the world, when you think about all the horrible things that have been said in the past 2 days about the murder of Floyd, people have taken opposite stands and fighting and rioting. That's really a call for love. That's really a call for us to return to our sweet essence. So you can do that in your own personal life, and it's really going to help shift this consciousness. And you can even think of it in your personal life with people you might have trouble with, relationships that might bother you. See that person as a beautiful, shining new baby, and just send them that sweet love. Let's just really try to strip away our defenses and pretenses, because right now the world is filled with defenses and pretenses and ideas and right and wrong. And we are really coming to a tipping point of consciousness where we are deciding if we're going to move forward collectively to become our higher consciousness selves, or if we're losing touch with our innate divine essence. And you and I know, everybody here knows, we're not going to lose touch with that. So we've got to be the light workers, the light carriers. And we can't do it by going out and arguing, as much as I would love to do that. I love to go out and get in a good argument. I have to hold myself back because I don't want to be putting that energy out in the world ever again. The world has had too much of it. And what's that great song that came out in the 60s? What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Oh my God, there's never been a better time for that song. And we don't mean love of one personality to another or one ego to another. We mean soul to soul, heart to heart, sweetness. I see the beautiful soul in you. You see the beautiful soul in me, and we love each other for knowing that we're each doing the best we can to our level of awareness. I'm also, as you know, a master numerologist. I've been studying numbers since 1980. When my first husband died from cancer, one of my greatest gifts was a reading from a numerologist in Boulder, Colorado in 1980. And she changed my life in an hour doing a session with me because she basically explained my soul agreement with my departed husband, my soul mission that I had chosen for this lifetime, where I was in my reinvention cycles, and just laid it out for me in a way that my soul knew that it was a true guidepost that I could rely on. And I became obsessed with studying numerology. That was 40 years ago. And I've been studying it, working with it ever since, bringing my spiritual perceptions to it. I don't do it the way many other numerologists do. I do it really from a spiritual soul perspective. I write about that in all my books. And today, hopefully at the end of my talk, I'll do a few sample numerology readings for people, because the universe has given us many signs to help us move forward, to help guide us. And you pick the sign that works for you, whether it's astrology, tarot cards, numerology, or what, and use it to help you navigate, especially during these times. And one thing I'll say about the year 2020, which is a year that will definitely go down in history, is that it's a 22 master soul year. And we can talk more about that afterwards, but what it means is I'm on the path of the 22. This calendar year is the 22, and the 22 is a call to shift and change consciousness, meaning I'm not a happy camper unless I'm writing a book or giving a talk or coaching clients or teaching a workshop. I feel an incredible drive within me constantly to shift consciousness, bring new ideas, to make things better. And if you look at this year, the energy vibration of 2020, I said in January, they had me give a talk at the eWomen group here in Phoenix about what I thought this year would be about. And I said, it is not a party year. We're not playing this year. We are having to go to work and do a lot of inner work to help shift consciousness. We're being called into the battle, so to speak. And boy, look at us, because I don't think I've ever felt so urgently needed to help change and save the world as I feel now. And I think all of us are feeling that. I've been running a lot of Zoom groups for people. And when I ask them, tell me what you feel your mission has been during this time, what have you really learned? Every one of them are telling me, I've done so much inner reflection. I've spent so much time alone. I've quit running out in the world to do busy work, and I've really focused within. And it has really brought me to a new place of inner awareness. Now, we know the whole world isn't acting that way, but if enough of us are learning that and acting that way, we can shift this world in the year of 2020. We can shift it to love and awareness and higher consciousness. So we're a real tipping point, and I'm calling upon all of you enlightened souls to step up, to remember you are carrying the light. As it says in Matthew in the Bible, I am the light of the world. That is true for all of us. We are carrying the light within us, the light of God consciousness within. So as we let that shine and don't get caught caught in the trap of beliefs and ideas and right and wrong. As we move and come from the heart, I think we really are going to change this world. I also want to remind everybody that we are all intuitive. It's part of our essence as human beings. We have a left brain and a right brain, and our right brain is our connection to the divine, to our intuitive higher selves. And we all have that. And so even now in this moment of craziness in the world, your intuition is still trying to help you, still trying to nudge you and guide you, even trying to tell you when you should go shopping and where, and it's a more important time than ever to tap into your intuition every day and really get clear with what it's telling you to do, because you may be being asked to reinvent your career this year. You may be being asked to reinvent your relationships this year, or to deepen your spiritual practice. And that guidance is going to come from within you. And what a better time than a pandemic to turn within and access that intuition. And again, we go back to meditation, because I believe that quiet meditation is the way we get to access that right brain intuitive part of us and hear that voice, that inner wisdom, quiet the monkey mind, the worry mind, and from that place of intuitive knowingness, move forward powerfully in our lives. So I can talk more about intuition later, answer your questions, but I'll just tell you briefly that when you want to trust your intuition, look into the future, meditate, quiet your mind, and then see whatever event or possibility you're thinking of doing, your career choice you're thinking of making, see it in the future, pretend you're already in that future. See what you're doing, who you're talking to, how you feel in your body. And you will instantly get a gut response that'll either be a yes through feeling energized and excited, happy, or a no by feeling sad, depressed, overwhelmed, afraid. And that no feeling will come through in your body. And that's your intuition saying, no, don't make that choice. Don't do that. So really test that out right now. I've been having fun doing it because here in Phoenix, nobody's wearing a mask. It's a very Republican state, you could say. And so when I go grocery shopping, I'm 68, almost 69 years old, and I feel like I have to kind of take care and protect myself. And so I do a little visualization. I picture the grocery store. I'll check out 3 different grocery stores in my intuitive meditation, and I'll see one of them that does not look crowded, feels better, and then I'll drive my car and go there to go grocery shopping. So, and it's flawless. It really, really works. And once you start trusting your intuition with those little choices like that, then you're going to be much more comfortable trusting your intuition with your big life choices. So the other thing I want to tell you today is that this is the most important time possibly in our whole lives for us to remember that each of us are uniquely on purpose, that you did not come here to be somebody else or to hide behind anyone or to fit into any system. You came to be uniquely you with your unique gifts and with your unique challenges, which are perfectly designed for your soul growth. So being you is more important now than ever. You know, the corporate world has dominated us and our choices for so many years, and people have had to develop careers where they had to fit into a corporate system. But now there's a new opening here. And as you follow that unique path within you, maybe start that business finally that you've always wanted to start because you've lost that other job that you didn't like that much anyway. So really follow your own unique path. You intended to grow in your lifetime, to push past your fears, and you knew coming into this lifetime that change was going to be required. So tonight, before you go to bed, look in the mirror and just say, who am I now? Is this who I intended to be when I started this lifetime? am I turning out to be the soul that I really intended to blossom into in this lifetime? So as we ask that and we look in the mirror, we can really get an answer from our higher selves. And I think often what we are told by our higher selves is strip away all the outer layers, strip away the shoulda, coulda, douldas in your head, strip away all the defenses and the ego, because what lies beneath all that is still your beautiful, pure, authentic, sweet soul. And you don't have to figure out your life completely right now as the world makes you think you can. You only need to find the first step that feels right and take that and trust that your intuition and divine order will carry you forward into your new important post-pandemic life. And please remember that feeling worthless or discouraged is an enormous waste of time for you and for anyone. And yet, isn't that our tendency as humans to have these days where we just doubt ourselves? We beat ourselves up. We look at our mistakes and our flaws and we just think, oh my God, who do I think I am? Well, I've got news for you from the highest source of divine essence, that there is no soul here who is worthless. There is no soul who has any reason to feel discouraged. All is evolving as it should. And you are evolving exactly as you should. You came here on purpose just the way you are, exactly to face what you're facing today in your life. Your great soul intention has been unfolding perfectly in your life. Love yourself, forgive yourself, and trust that all the bumps in the road have been on purpose to help your soul grow. Everything from career loss to illness to financial challenges to relationship turmoil. This is how we learn. This is how we evolve. But what we do have is a free will that helps us choose how we're going to view our life and its challenges. And no one else chooses our viewpoint but us. So we are the ones who determine, am I going to view my life as a tragedy and I'm worthless? Or am I going to view it as a perfectly designed map for the highest evolution of my soul? And that every single tragedy or coincidence or pain I've been through has been exactly perfect for my evolution. Because when we embrace that divine lens perspective, we can truly say, hey, pain has been my greatest fool. Every time my heart's been broken open, I've lost someone I love, I have learned from that in the most profound spiritual ways to become who I am today. And without those losses, I really don't like the person that I was 50 years ago, but I like the person I've become. So I'm asking you to imagine that your soul has chosen to experience all of your losses, all of your disappointments, to open your heart and strengthen your connection to the divine, to push you onto your true path and inspire you to accomplish your greatest work. I believe that our greatest work offers to the world what we wish had been offered to us in our moment of greatest pain. And we can talk about that later on when we do question and answer. But our losses heal us by giving us a chance to refocus on what's important in our life, truly love the people in our lives, and find the great work that fulfills our soul mission and answers the question, why am I still here? That's the question every grieving person asks. I know where my loved one went, but why am I still here? And I think that when we begin to say, well, maybe if I'm still here, it's because I've got a soul mission to accomplish and I'm not done yet, then we can rise up from the most devastating grief. We can rise up from the most terrible losses, and we can still do important work that helps others evolve and helps heal the world. Just today or last night, I found out that one of my dear friends in Boulder, and some of you may know her, Nora McCrae, she's a beautiful seamstress. Her son, her adult son, died in her arms yesterday. And I've known Nora for many years. She sewed many dresses for me, and I know her life story. And the first thing I did was reach out and say, "Oh, baby girl, when you're ready, I'm here to talk to you," because I know that she will hit that place that all mothers do. I work with so many grieving parents where they say, "Okay, I'm finally able to say I'm at peace that my child is okay in the divine realms, but I can't make peace with why I am still here." And I'll even tell you that when I lost my beloved cat last month, that cat was my soul agreement. Like it's my baby who replaced my children when they left home. That cat was my soul agreement. And since she's died, I've even faced that question of, well, why couldn't I go with her? Like, why do I still have to be here? And that's when it becomes so important to be in touch with our individual soul mission and what we're still here to do, and to kick our work up to the next level. And some of you know that I'm working on a Master's of Divinity, and I'm becoming a Unity ordained minister. And I've been in school doing that for 3 years. And it's not that I ever intend to run a church, but studying spirituality and the evolution of God, consciousness, and all of that is what I live for. And just to be able to study that in school actually is such an exciting thing, and it fills me with new ideas and inspiration. And like I told you, I'm 69, so we have to keep growing and evolving spiritually and emotionally, because that is why we're here, to evolve. And I just want to summarize probably the most important thing that we can all be doing as we go through our losses is daily meditation, because that's where we get back in touch with our higher selves and our soul mission. So today, if you have questions about what kind of meditation I do, or if I could help you with learning to meditate, I'm happy to answer those questions. That's something I feel like I should have a PhD in, because I started meditating in the 70s, and I've studied with many different teachers, many different techniques, and I think I have figured out the way that is most user-friendly, that everyone can do to really help quiet that monkey mind. So just remember, you have a lot of tools, from sweetness to meditation to your powerful intuition. You can also use what we talk about in Unity, denials and affirmations. And I'll give you an example. I deny this crazy world any power over my inner health, happiness, and well-being. That is such a powerful statement. I mean, you can, if you catch the news and it's making you crazy, you can just turn off the TV, close your eyes, and say, I deny the power of all that craziness to knock me off my spiritual center. And then follow it with an affirmation. And I affirm that I am a powerful divine being who came here on purpose to be here at this exact time for a reason of evolution. So I accept that. And I'm just opening myself to find out, what is my next step? What am I supposed to do now? And as we look at it with that idea that all these crazy things happening are not happening to hurt me, they are happening to help me evolve. Now I can be open to them, and I can ask, where is my place in them? And then most importantly, please tonight, before you go to bed, say the affirmation, I am a light carrier. I am the light of the world. And when you find yourself in fear, depression, sadness, anxiety, I am the light of the world. We all carry the light of God consciousness within us. And when we recognize that and shift up into that awareness, oh my God, we can affect people all around us with our higher loving consciousness. And just imagine if we had a tipping point number of people, souls on the planet who right now just breathed into that complete awareness that we are all part of God consciousness. We carry that love within us. And so we can completely change the events that are unfolding as we tip it into that loving consciousness. We can do that, people. We just need enough of us to do it. And we also need to stop our pitiful thinking, because I often joke with my clients and students about how we all have a pitiful self and a brilliant self. And our pitiful self, we have to name it. Mine is named Sadie. She thinks life is a tragedy, and she likes to go to bed and watch sad movies like Out of Africa. And then I have a brilliant self named Aretha, and she is powerful, confident, playful, charming, and wise. And so I can tell who is showing up because I've given them names, they have personalities. And so I can choose, hey, today I'm going to do whatever I've got to do energetically to bring my Aretha to the world. And when my Sadie shows up, I'll give her a day in bed to watch a sad movie if she needs that. But I'm not going to let her make my career decisions or my relationship choices. And so as you get to know those parts of yourself, you become the boss. You become the one who decides who will show up. But the most important thing is to remember that when we're thinking, when we're being our pitiful self, that's okay. That's part of the human experience. And we are going to have days like that. But if we can laugh about it, and if we can forgive ourselves, that means we'll also be able to forgive other people for having their pitiful self show up. And especially with our families, it's really fun to talk about. Oh my goodness, with my kids, we'd sit down for dinner and we all had names for our pitiful selves and our brilliant selves, and the kids would go, oh no, Sadie came to dinner or something. So make it fun so that you are in charge of it. So mostly I would just like to open it up to questions now. I've covered a lot, from intuition to sweetness to affirmations and denials to the consciousness of God within all of us to numerology. So I am here for your questions, and I'll do 3 numerology readings if you want to send me your birth date. And I just want to do 3 because I don't want to take our whole time on that. But let's start with some other questions first. So what are some other questions you guys have? Oh, I think people have to be unmuted.
Hi.
Hi.
I'll break
Hi,
this.
Lee.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Sue. I don't actually have a question, but I just thought that it's also nice that we just take a deep breath after that download.
Yes.
Thank you for that. There were a lot of things that resonate for me from what you're talking about. I mean, kind of like at this time, I am feeling and practicing in the kind of way that you're talking about. And so it's kind of really nice for me to be here and to just enjoy what you're saying and enjoy the group.
So, Lee, do you have to go out in the world and work at your job? And are the daily events that are going on affecting you personally?
No, I'm having the best time. This is great. I mean, I'm remodeling my home. So my work is home. And I'm also remodeling the home within me. So, I mean, I'm just sharing now, but it's a beautiful parallel. And there's time, sometimes sometimes like I could see something in me that I'm not happy with, or something in me's like not happy about something or whatever. And um, and then I could say to myself, well, what if I had time? Like it didn't have to be right now, but there's time. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, from that perspective, well then I'm okay, everything relaxes.
Yeah.
It's a little more space. And that's sort of how my life is that there's space, there's time. And within that it's real though. It's not just even an idea. It's actually, well, that's actually true. There is time. And
Lee, give me your date of birth, because now that we're talking, I might as well just do your numerology really quick. What's your date of birth?
okay. I was listening to you talk. I was wondering if you were a Libra, because you said your birthday's coming up, and I kind of have that feeling that maybe you are, but I am.
I wish I were a Libra. I'm a Virgo.
Virgos always wish they weren't Virgos.
I know.
But it's a wonderful sign. It is a wonderful sign.
Well, it's, us Virgos of the world, we analyze and create systems and organize the world, but the Libras make it beautiful and light and inspirational. So Lee, give me your date of birth.
I definitely resonate with those qualities, and I am doing that. So you already know a lot about me. Okay, my birthday is October 11th, 1962.
So the way I do numbers, and if you want to read any of my books, you'll learn my unique number system. This is perfect, because if I've added this right, let me do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4.
18.
Yeah, you're a Libra 3 path, and the 3 energy is about being creative, self-expressive, artistic. 3 is the energy of creativity. And you're telling me about redesigning your home, redesigning your life. And the 3, Libra, is very airy, very stuck in your head sometimes. And one of the lessons for the Libra 3 is to not live in your brilliant mind and open your heart. So I would imagine that in your spiritual evolution, opening your heart has been part of the process of it. And in relationships, often that's the problem, is that the 3 path wants to be in their ideas, and they have to learn to quiet that and open their heart. But the other thing is that you're in a 7 personal year, and that 7, everything you were just describing, is about inner peace and spiritual growth, inner growth. 7 is a number of being turned inward to our spiritual growth. It's a time of reflection. It'd be a good time to write. It'd be a good time to meditate, a good time to take a class on spiritual living. And then next year, you're in a very different year. You're in an 8 personal year, where you're going to be called out into the world to bring your ideas and make money from the world in a whole different way that you're working on this year. One other thing I want to look at here. 2 from 10 is 8, 6 from 11 is, oh my goodness, you're in, if I got this right, 2 from 10 is 8, 6 from, you're in Saturn return. You're in the second
Yeah.
Saturn return. So you are definitely in your big soul reinvention. Remodeling your house is the symbol for, kicking your soul up to the next level of your life and your work. But following that creative, self-expressive stuff that you're talking about is perfect. You're right on path for that. So thank you for sharing. Lee, does any of that resonate with you?
Oh yeah, completely. We could talk for hours. I mean, I have wise people in my life, and I am in complete alignment with what you're talking about.
Perfect.
I call them my A team or my dream team. I keep getting helpers and support, and people come and go off my team, and there's always a bunch of people in my life that are that I seek for help, and so that's, and I still have that. And so I feel supported. It's really nice to talk to you. Maybe we'll talk sometime after group. I'll look you up. But
well, my website is suefrederick.com, and I do coaching sessions and workshops all the time. So I'm just going to put my little banner up there, just so you can go there for more information. Because that's what I do, is I coach people with the numbers, with intuition and spirituality.
well, I'm on track. I definitely, I am. I'm deep in it. I'm in it.
Yep.
And
All right.
and I feel that we're all here to help and support each other be in it. I think that's just the big value of, like, the value of community, is that we just sort of help each other, hold each other softly so that we can find our home.
So I'm looking at Mindy's birthday over there. She put it to me in the chat. So Mindy, step forward, baby.
I'm here.
So 3/2/64. Let's see. 2. Wow. So Mindy, you would be my best friend if I still lived in Boulder, because you're the Pisces 7. And first of all, Virgos and Pisces have this thing where we're the opposite of the zodiac, but I'm a Virgo Pisces. So I have so much Pisces in me. It's how I do my intuitive spiritual work. And you are the essence of Pisces. And then you've got the 7 path number, and 7, like I was just telling Lee, is the number of spiritual awareness, of spiritual wisdom, of really wanting to explore the deeper meaning of life. And my husband is a 7, and so I love that analytical mind. In other words, I can go say to my husband, hey, what do you think about such and such? And we'll have the most deep and interesting exploration of that idea, and he'll take it into such deep and unusual directions. And that's what a 7 can do, because you're such a deep thinker. And so I love that, and I hope that you write, Mindy, because 7 has a gift for writing. If you ever do that, you could also be a psychologist because you're analytical mind, but it's definitely a deep, beautiful essence in your soul. And there's something else I'm looking at here. Oh my goodness. No wonder you're on this call. You're in a 9 personal year. Yeah, you're going through some reinventions here. So when we hit a 9 year, it means we're at the end of a cycle. And some of these endings are more intense than others, but we get them every 9 years, and they come at different times for different people on different paths. Oh my goodness, and I think you're on Saturn return as well, 4 from 10, 6 from 11. Oh my goodness, you guys are all in your second Saturn return. But Mindy, you're not only going into second Saturn return, but you're in a 9 personal year. There has never been a moment in your life before as powerful for reinvention as this right now. And what you're being asked to do is let go of the old ideas, the old patterns, the old relationships, the old labels of yourself that have held you back, and really surrender it all, let it all go, because next year, 2021, you are starting a new and most powerful cycle of your life. So let me ask you, Mindy, what do you do for a living?
So I do finance, lending on commercial buildings.
And how's that working for you?
Well, I think about a year ago we did a reading.
Oh, okay.
I think you told me it was time to move on, and so I've been working on that, and I'm doing Reiki, and
oh, good.
kind of starting on that for my path. I'm transitioning over to that. The finance is just, I feel like I'm done with it.
Yeah. And that Saturn return, what it does when it comes along in our second Saturn return in our late 50s, it's the soul saying, hey, you know, you came here with a certain mission and it's now or never to step up to it. And so that deep inner urging in us is just gets so powerful we can't avoid it. You know, we hit that first Saturn return in our late 20s and we often get a big wake up call then, a big nudging then, but often we ignore that and we go back to regular life. We build our career, we have babies and families, but then we come and hit the second Saturn return in our late 50s, and there's no avoiding it. You know, we're going to be compelled on every level to change and reinvent and step up. So I'm glad you're heeding the call, Mindy.
Yeah, every morning, every time I go, I tell everybody my toes are off the cliff for doing something different, you know?
Oh,
That's really good. Hey, let me ask you, has the pandemic affected your career in finance?
You know, it's interesting because I put it out. I try not to think about it and just go on and be very positive about everything. And my business has almost doubled during the pandemic. I've done more in this last month than almost all of last year.
That is so interesting. Now, help me understand, is that about selling buildings or homes, or?
It's just refinancing, which it's really tough to refinance right now. And our bank has always been very conservative, but for some reason right now they've loosened up a little bit. And we have a really good program to sell. So I was like, okay.
That's great. All right. Well, I'm going to move to Sharon, who Sharon put her date of birth in the chat box. And I think, let me check, make sure I've done this right. 789. Yep. Sharon, do you want to show who you are here? Say hello.
Right here.
Ah, there you are. Hey, sweetie. Well, you're the Sag 8, and the 8 path is the path of owning our power. And it often means that, you know, you're the most powerful person in the room, whether you're being quiet or whether you're speaking. There's just an essence of power about you, because what you came to learn in this lifetime is how to use that power for good and how to empower yourself and others. And I've got a stepson who's an 8 path, and boy, I'll tell you what, it's been amazing to raise him, because every challenge was about who's going to own the power, and I learned early on it was going to be him. So you're a Sag, though, and that's so interesting, because that's exactly what my stepson is. Like, he has the gift of gab. He can really get along with people. So he's doing great in the corporate world because he's a born manager. He wants to tell everybody what to do. But he has personal relationship issues that I believe come from the 8 path need to be in control, to have the power. And so one of the soul lessons of the 8 path is to surrender that need for control and power to our spiritual wisdom, to know that at the end of the day, we're actually in control of nothing. And that our spiritual wisdom and our God consciousness is what we've got to surrender things to. But where are you on that continuum? What are you doing for your career?
So I left my career about 4 years ago, May of 16. Mm-hmm. So I'd been in like project management, strategic planning, data analysis. So 20 years of that. Mm-hmm. Since then, I started my own business. I did that for maybe a couple years. Something a little more creative. So it was photo organizing for people who have just tons of stuff that they want to get digitized. And then we moved out here, and that was, not even a year ago. So not really.
So are you kind of reinventing right now? You're exploring.
I'm exploring. Yeah, I think reinventing is a little too action oriented. I'm more just sort of gathering a lot. I'm just gathering a lot. So this,
Sharon,
Caritas has been a great resource.
So Sharon, what I want to say to you is, as an 8-path soul, you're here to go big, baby. So whatever you're thinking, you got to kick it up to the next notch, because the bigger the better and the more successful you'll be. And you're definitely an entrepreneur. So you've got to start another business, and it's got to be big and bold and beautiful. So many of you know that I have an ex-husband in Boulder who's an 8-path, and boy, is he a perfect study in what that 8 is, because he didn't even finish high school, never went to college. And when we were married, he was an herbalist for an herbal company, but he never made any money, but he was always brilliant. And when I wanted to be home with my daughter, because I knew I was an editor of a magazine, and I knew that she would be my only child because she was born when I was 43, and I wanted to stay home for a little while with her. He got so mad because I was calling him to step up on his 8-path and own his power and start a business. And lo and behold, he did it. And he is now, you probably know who he is. He's the owner of a big chocolate company called Choco Love. He's a millionaire. He runs a factory. His chocolate is all over the world. And
I love Choco Love.
Oh, well, there you go.
I've just discovered those like in the last month. I really like their stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And the little love poems he writes inside, like I helped him start all that back when my daughter was really young. But he also abused his power. I mean, the reason that our relationship couldn't last was that his need for emotional power and emotional control, I couldn't take that. But I love him for being so true to his 8-path. And to this day, he's always launching new products, coming up with new brilliant ideas, making that company really successful. And that's a true 8-path story. And you are capable of that, Sharon.
All right. Thank you.
So think big.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll sleep on it. I'll meditate on it.
All right. What other questions? Are you guys listening to your intuition? Are there people here who have any questions about intuition or meditation?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Tink in Boulder.
Hi, Tink.
First, I have to say hi to Jenny, and thank you for doing Freer's numerology for home. Remember that? You're muted.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's good to see you. I've never seen you, and I just love that so much. Yeah, I just have one question. I have, gosh, it almost makes me kind of weepy because it's just hit so close to home. I have 4 Black relatives, and this whole George Floyd thing, it's kind of hit me harder. It's just hit me much harder than I thought. And I feel like going to the demonstration tomorrow and spreading a little love and telling everyone to chill out.
Yeah.
But I just, and it's kind of ironic because a lot of what Lee said, I'll piggyback on. I mean, I don't think I've ever been as happy as I am during this pandemic, and I have guilt about that.
That's great.
I'm just healing and meditating and taking care of myself and winding down. So I'm really in a good place, but boy, this George Floyd thing is just, and I've worked in psychiatry for years, so I hear a lot of horror stories, and I do have PTSD from that, but just today, I'm almost like my DNA.
I know, it's
cell.
Yeah. And I don't know if you were on the call before we officially got started, but I was talking about the year of 1968 because I was a junior and then a senior in high school, and it was the spring of 68 when Martin Luther King was killed and Bobby Kennedy was killed. And those were our heroes. And I was a little Catholic girl growing up in Mobile, Alabama at Convent of Mercy. And Martin Luther King Jr. had come and spoken to our Catholic diocese in the 60s. And so I personally was in love with him. I believe that I still believe he was one of the greatest spiritual teachers of our time. And so when he was killed, that was a huge turning point in my life, even in high school, to know that I needed to have a life that in some way made a difference. And since you're a psychologist, you made that decision a long time ago as well. But I think that with this new pain happening in the world about prejudice and discrimination, there's two steps that we can do. One is in the inner world, where every day I hope you're doing a prayer or meditation practice and going within and really centering your energy on the heart. You can't really see, but putting your upturned palm in front of your heart chakra and picturing divine love consciousness pouring down through you and out to the world. Because the only way we're going to heal white prejudice is by sending it love, because those people are coming from a place of fear and ignorance, and we can't be angry. I think I might have said at the beginning of this, I have a brother in Mobile, Alabama, who I'm so embarrassed to say, but the truth is he's basically a white supremacist, and we didn't speak for 10 years. And my spiritual work has been to love and forgive him as a soul on a journey, because I know that only by sending him that kind of loving consciousness can I help him heal and evolve and wake up. And so we've got to learn, in the midst of all of this stuff that we're feeling, we have to go access that loving consciousness and send that out to the world. And the other thing, that's the internal step that we can do, because every time we get angry about it, we're feeding the fire. We're feeding the fuel of anger that's out there, and the anger isn't serving any of us. But then the outer step we can take is, I grew up demonstrating against the war and marching with the Black movement in Alabama. I was disowned by my white family for that when I was 18. Yeah. So I know all about doing that. And what I say is that you can go march. You can go out there and make your voice heard, but use your intuition to know how to send it out with love, where to stand in the crowd. I marched on Washington against the Vietnam War in November of 1970, and it was thousands and thousands of people. And it was kind of terrifying. It was back-to-back people. But I remember just kind of floating in that crowd towards the light energy, the good energy that wasn't as angry, and standing there. And use your intuition so you don't get involved in the really ugly battles that could break out. Because I do think there are times when showing up physically is important. So do your inner work and your outer work. And my heart is with you, because I think this is another 1968. Those of us who were around then, we felt like it was the end of the world. I mean, how many of you were here with us in 1968? It felt like the Vietnam War was taking all of the boys my age and killing them. It really felt like the end of the world.
Yeah, just it's a deep grief, and I think, well, maybe I'm grieving something else, but my daughter has this beautiful biracial baby, and she has another one due in October, and boy, there's something about these grandkids that are just, it's mind-blowing. You never think about the grandmother stuff, and I was like, well, yeah, it's wonderful, but get your life.
But that's another thing that Gloria and I were talking about, is that the kids who are coming of age right now, the kids who can't have a regular graduation in high school or in college. I believe they are a generation being called to change the world, and I believe they're going to step up to it. And I'm hoping that they'll be known as the generation that brought compassion to the world. And if you look at some of the acts these high school kids are doing for their friends and college kids, you know, we're teaching them a level of compassion. They're learning that and taking it to heart in a way that I haven't seen other generations doing. So yeah, every generation of child that comes in, I believe, is more evolved than the last one. So definitely grandchildren are highly evolved souls.
Thank you. I resonated with everything you said. Look, it's so easy not to touch your face, isn't it?
I know. My nose is always itching. I'm always doing that. I mean, it's amazing that I haven't gotten sick. Hey, I want to talk to Wendy, my beautiful Wendy. I just saw on the chat that she's here. She's a friend from New York. And Wendy, say hello, beloved Wendy.
I'll put on my video. Oh, that's the light.
Where's my Wendy?
There are several people who we're not seeing.
Hello?
Whose videos are off.
Wendy! Wendy, how have you been hanging out in the pandemic in New York City? How are you staying well? How are you?
I have definitely been in quarantine. I actually, interestingly enough, I had a rather fright once at the post office, and it was a very large post office, but there was a woman 12 feet behind me who was coughing madly into her hand, no mask, and everyone was freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up to the desk at the post office and I asked if they had an extra mask. So then I got the mask and I gave it to her, and I had Purell with me and I put it on her hands. And then got back in line and realized, what did I just do? What did I just do? Doing my good deed, right. So I came back and I listened to these affirmation meditations for healing. Good. All day long, for days. And I'm fine, came through it. But I've been very respectful and happy to wear a mask. Everyone here is very, very committed to wearing masks, so I'm grateful for that. And everyone takes it seriously. Grateful for that.
That's the amazing thing about New York City. I love that city so much. And yes, people have responded, and it's so wonderful. You guys started doing the clapping for the healthcare workers.
I know. It's so frustrating. I live in a building that's been renovated, and there are new windows that don't open. They only crack open from the top 4 inches. So I can't even see the street, but I crack it open and I hear everyone, and it's just the most gorgeous sound. It's been consistent every day throughout through this whole process. It's been every day. It's been quite something.
Oh, Wendy, I just love you so much. I've thought about you so much and all this, you know, your beautiful apartment right on Lexington Avenue, right in the middle of it all.
Exactly.
So how is your spiritual life? You were writing a question about daily meditation. Are you meditating, or did you want to talk about that?
I'm happy to report that I have finally, after all our conversations from so many years ago, I mean, I have so much to be grateful for this pandemic. The time, it's just been a precious thing. And so I've allowed myself to initiate that discipline. And it's the ritual. It's such a great thing to experience, to get up and have a ritual. I have a spot where I go to. I sit in that place. I hold my crystals in my hands, and
But do you have a mala? Remember we talked about using a mala in your meditation and saying a mantra on every bead? Have you tried that?
No, I haven't. But I'm wondering, when you were discussing meditation, it made me question whether I guess I started to question whether by listening to these affirmations that I have found on YouTube and friends have sent, is that enough? Is that okay? Is that really allowing me to get from myself within?
Yeah, I have a really strong belief that affirmations are wonderful and we need them, and we definitely need a time in our life, in our daily event, where we repeat those affirmations, especially nowadays. But I also believe we've got to have 10 to 20 minutes of quieting the mind so that we access the divine inner self. And I've taught all my students for years that I think the Hindus and the Buddhists figured out, thousands of years ago, that if you repeat a sacred sound like a Sanskrit mantra, that the sound of that language begins to quiet. Thank you. That the sound of that sacred Sanskrit mantra begins to lull your monkey mind to behave and be quiet, so that you can then access your inner wisdom, your higher self. And that's why I love the mala, because it's a very grounding way. Like what you do is you have it in your hands as you meditate, and on every bead you're saying, I use the mantra Om Namah Shivaya because it's very powerful and it means I connect to the divine. So on every bead I'm saying Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And it just lulls your mind into this sense of peacefulness and getting away from all the worry thoughts. And after you've done that for a few minutes, you begin to really get into that deeper consciousness, that deeper state. And we can also access our departed loved ones in that deeper state as well. And I know that, Wendy, you have some loved ones on the other side who are always guiding you and talking to you. And that kind of mantra-based meditation helps us quiet our own mind so that we connect to what we can call the divine mind. And for me, I know that I've got to do that kind of meditation every day, or my monkey mind will just make me crazy. I am a Virgo after all. But you, beautiful Wendy, are a Pisces 7, another one, because we had, who was it? Mindy. Mindy, you and Wendy should be best friends. You're both Pisces 7s. The most spiritual energy ever is the combination of those two things. And as I was telling you, my husband Gene is a 7 and Wendy is a beloved friend and she's a 7. I just love the deep essence, the soul wisdom that comes to people on that beautiful 7 path. You're also in an 11 personal year, Wendy, and that's a year of healing, and it's a year of accessing your sensitivity and your connection to divinity to heal yourself and your relationships. But you've been isolated. So how's it made you feel to be alone in an apartment with no one to speak to? I think that's a really interesting, with no one to hug, no one to be with physically.
It suits my personality perfectly.
I love you.
I self-isolate brilliantly. I have not stopped for a second. I have been involved with every project and completing things that need a great deal of concentration without any guilt, this has been a gift from the gods.
That's so wonderful. Are you writing your book that we've talked about?
That's so interesting when you were saying that to Mindy, and that's what kind of prompted me to want to reach out, because it was that very first reading that we did all those many years ago, where you told me about writing. And in April, I made the decision that since this pandemic was really going to be in this kind of lockdown scenario, that this would be the time. And so I've taken out all the archives, all the everything, and I set up 2 tables in my living room. I put all the material there, and June 1 was my date to begin.
Wow.
There you
This
go.
is wonderful. Very, very good.
After all these many years later.
Well, divine order unfolds in its own perfect timing, you know?
So I had another question about the year. Does it start the year you're born, or when you're your number 1 year?
So in other words, you're in the year 2020, from January through December, you're in an 11 personal year. And
But
that means
the personal year begins as from your year 1 or from your year 0?
0, your first year of life before you turn 1 is the same number of your path. So your first year of your life before you turned 1 was a 7.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but
I mean, I read the book. I read the book, but I forgot that part. So
I know it can confuse people, but people are always asking, does your personal year start in January or on your birthday? And what I've observed is that when the new year of the calendar comes in, it brings in a new energy. It brings in our new personal year, but we really feel deeply in alignment with that new personal year during the time. So for example, in March for you, wow, right when the pandemic was really kicking in was when you were really feeling the essence of this 11 personal year, deep spiritual healing, deep physical healing, you know, deep sensitivity, all the things that go with that 11 personal year.
that's so interesting. Because in March I went on a detox with the naturopath.
That's great.
So that feels right too. Well, but enough about me.
Well,
Anyway.
how many people feel that in the last couple of months since the pandemic, they have focused on getting physically healthier, like not eating bad food as much? You know, I think I've met so many people who like said, well, if there's ever a time to stay away from sugar, now is the time, because sugar depletes your immune system, you know. And what I was noticing for Jean and I is that, and this is probably true of you, Wendy, we used to go out to eat all the time. You know, that was just our fun date thing to do. We'd go out to eat. And in New York City, that's what you do all the time, or else you order in, you know. And when the pandemic started happening, like it changed we got back to cooking. We got back to making our own meals and enjoying it and looking forward to it. And it's been so much healthier for us. And I think it's one of the gifts of this pandemic. Have you done any cooking, Wendy? I know the size of your kitchen.
I'm not sure. Have you been here since I think you need to come and see my apartment next time you come, because you will not recognize it.
Oh, wow.
Been utterly transformed. And yes, I've been doing cooking. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is your kitchen bigger now than it was when
because it's a typical New York kitchen in that sense. It's just, you know, a one-person kitchen, but it's been redesigned and reconfigured.
Oh, wow.
So it could be a two-person kitchen now. No, yes,
That's great.
A lot of people are putting in gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've started a garden again.
Yeah.
Not when you live on the 10th floor.
Two of my kids live in the Catskills, and they've started a beautiful garden. And
Oh, that's so
I've heard a
good.
lot of other people, putting in gardens in their backyards also. And and I was reading the other day that, during World War II, a lot of people put in victory gardens,
Right.
And
Right.
after World War II, 45% of all the food that Americans ate came from their own gardens. 45%.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Don't you wish that had continued,
Yeah.
because boy, that would have made my childhood quite different in the 50s. I never ate anything but canned Chef Boyardee and all that stuff growing up. So, and also in this pandemic, how many of you feel that you've realized how in your life you were always just finding an excuse to go out in the world and do an errand or, and that now you're realizing I don't need to go and do all those things. And in fact, I feel a lot more centered when I'm just here at home.
I'm just interjecting. It is a bit challenging. I've tracked that I walk anywhere from 2 to 6 miles every day. And I barely left my apartment. So that's been really challenging. And I'm not ready to go out. I mean, if I go outside to walk, I'd be just going outside to walk somewhere, not in a typical way. So that's been challenging too. So there's no weight loss happening at
Right.
all.
Yeah. Same problem here.
Yeah, same problem here. Yeah, definitely. I think we have to make an agreement that when we all see each other again in person, we have to say, "Oh, you've lost weight."
Yeah. I think I eat better now than I have because I take my lunch because I'm not eating out or anything,
Right.
and I'm trying to eat more go more vegetarian, and I've always been good at organic and everything. And I can't lose anything. I've actually gained weight, and I'm like, why?
I know. I think the pandemic is secretly making us all gain weight. There's something in the air. Because last year at this time, I was out hiking a lot in the desert because there's trails all around us and it's beautiful. But Jean and I went out hiking and the trails are just packed with people and nobody's wearing a mask and people are huffing and puffing and going past you. And I just felt really uncomfortable in it. And Sarah told me it was the same way in Boulder, Wendy. She said that all the trails were filled with people and they weren't wearing masks. And so I'm not comfortable hiking. And yeah, it's weird. It's definitely strange trying to figure out how to get exercise.
You can't huff and puff with a mask on your face.
True.
Not if you
That
want
is true.
oxygen as well.
Yeah.
But we're
Right.
finding that in Alaska too. I feel like I'm back in California. There's so many people on the trails and usually we have them to ourselves. So it's kind of, I'm glad everybody's
So Ginny, tell us about you. You're in Alaska?
Yeah. My dad lived in Netherlands, so I spent several wonderful summers with Gloria and friends. My sister worked for her, so, and I met you when you came out with your
Just to
job, the job books.
Oh, Dream Job. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that book. I think I have it, of course. I think it's one of the best primers for spirituality I've ever read.
Oh, wow. You just made my day. Thank you so much. Oh, that's a really sweet thing to say. In my own personal life, I've had to struggle with feeling that my books have never been successful enough. because they've never sold enough, you know, that like, for example, St. Martin's Press published 3 of them. And then when I approached them with another book, they said that I hadn't sold enough of my other books. So when I go to my pitiful self, that's my pitiful self.
I love them.
That's good. Thank you. I'm so grateful for that.
And I pass mine around. So, or, you know, people, it's always good to get the word out. And
I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, I'm always working on another one, and I'm working on one right now. And it's so ironic because I'm working on one about the nature of suffering and why humans suffer, and sort of where that belief comes from, and how we move through suffering in a more enlightened way. And boy, all of a sudden the pandemic hit and it's inspired my ideas quite a lot.
That's great.
So any other questions? Questions about anything? Intuition, spirituality, meditation, numerology, your career path?
This is Sharon. I have a question. It might be kind of in the numerology realm. I'm not sure. Take it wherever you wish.
Mm-hmm.
But you touched a little bit on the importance of 2020 or the significance of it. Are you familiar with Anna Dea Judith and her books?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
She's written one, I think it's called Wheels of Life. And in that book, she talked about how Earth, I think more so than the universe, is evolving, and how we're moving from the power chakra to the heart chakra. And I think she wrote this like maybe in the 80s, maybe 90s. Anyway, it really resonated with me when I read that. And I feel like you touched on that a little bit. You didn't say it that exact way, but that we are in a period of transition, and maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that we're actually in a period of transition of getting out of our heads and getting into our heart chakra. And I think we've lived in our ideas and our beliefs and our thoughts for so long, and thought that was great. That was just wonderful. If I had all kinds of opinions about the world, it meant I was a good person. And now we've seen the outcome of that, because everybody has an opinion, a belief, an idea, and all we're doing is fighting with each other about those ideas. And so the awakening is that at the end of the day, our ideas are meaningless, that it's what's in our heart that matters. And if we can't bring our heart of love and compassion to each other and to the world, then our ideas mean nothing. They don't serve us. And what's interesting is that I'm studying in my wonderful classes, that one of the classes I'm in right now is called The History of Christianity. And it's so fascinating to study all this, because there was a split point where Christianity was determined by all these philosophical writers, Ignatius of Antioch, and all these people who wrote about their ideas about God. And yet on this other path were the mystics. And the mystics believed that God is an inner experience, an experience of higher consciousness and love. And the mystics lost the battle because the Pope and the Christian path came in and laid down the dogma. They even persecuted mystics for a while. And you had to buy into the idea of this theology of God that was created. And it was all completely cerebral. And I grew up Catholic, and the Catholics are all about the ideas of theology. They can act like absolute jerks to each other, but they know what the Trinity is, and they know what the Eucharist is about, and they have the apostolic hand of God speaking through them. And yet the mystics said, God is the expression of divine consciousness and love, and God is in all of us. And I feel like we're beginning to come full circle back to realize that God is not an idea. God is the experience of the heart. but now we've just got to wake up all those fundamentalist Christians to that idea.
Yeah, and that God doesn't have a rule book
Right.
that
Yes.
that is imposed on us, you know.
Absolutely. And boy, the Christians and the Catholics really believe in those rules. You know, it's so interesting because when Jean and I moved here to Arizona, we moved here because Jean was diagnosed with cancer, and it was very serious, aggressive cancer. And we investigated a lot of different healing modalities and doctors. And it was only the doctors here at Mayo Clinic in Phoenix who had this amazing high-tech laser beam proton therapy that offered Jean a future, because all the other doctors were just like, no, you're kind of done for, and we weren't going to accept that answer. And we got here in Phoenix, and he's doing great. Jean has been really healed by that high proton beam therapy treatment, so we're so grateful for that. But this area is filled with fundamentalist Christians. And we lost a friend that we thought we were going to be friends with when we got here. A friend from Jean's background in Pennsylvania, one of the original friends that Jean grew up with. She lives here in Phoenix, and they'd always kind of stayed in touch. And so we went out to dinner with them, so excited to be friends with them. And we were pretty quickly told that we were doing the work of the devil, especially me, because I meditate and I believe in unity and all that stuff. And that she couldn't even be friends with us. And it was stunning. I mean, it was really, Jean was so hurt by it. And later we spent so much time talking about how could you possibly believe that God would not want you to be friends with your childhood friend who's going through cancer treatment, who's moved down here and doesn't know anybody? And she shut him out because he was doing the devil's work. And boy, I'll tell you, that's a real amazing idea of God, in my opinion.
And unfortunately, it has repercussions on the highest levels of government in this country.
It's true.
Because I don't know about Donald Trump, but I know when George W. was in office, he was surrounded by apocalyptics, you know, who believed that the end of the world is coming, and they would start the day every day with prayer, with a prayer meeting. And the reason, I don't know, I read this recently, but well, I did know that the reason that they're friendly towards Israel is because that's where Israel is key to this end of the world dynamic, you know. And it's I guess if you think the end of the world is coming, what does it matter if the earth is being polluted or climate change or any of that? It doesn't matter, you know, which makes sense. You know,
but that's what, you know, Pence is a deeply fundamentalist Christian.
Yes.
And so he hides it as well as he can. But at the end of the day, that's what he believes. And he does believe the end of the world. And he believes Trump is the savior. They believe that Trump is the anointed savior, which I can't even say with a straight face, but they do believe that.
That's unbelievable. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Wow. Well, what about people like Mitch McConnell? I mean, are all these powerful Republicans, are they all, you know,
you know, a lot of them are fundamentalist Christians. And so I keep joking with Jean saying, boy, you know, I wish that Jesus would descend from the highest realms and go, hey guys, you got it wrong. would you just listen to me now and tell them that it's all about love?
Yeah.
Because they've created such a story in their head about theology and Christianity, and it's crazy story. Like, they're, if they were being seen by a psychologist, the psychologist would listen to all this and pretty much tell them they were paranoid schizophrenic, I mean, they have just crazy beliefs and ideas, and yet they're in places of great power. And you're right, that's one of the tipping points of consciousness, that we have to tip with love, because there ain't no arguing with those people. There is absolutely no arguing with them.
And there's no real inner growth. I've been thinking a lot about, well, I've been wondering for years, really, but especially now, why this paradigm of that the economy has to always be growing. I think it has toxic consequences. And the other day I was thinking about it, and
I need to scoot. I'm so sorry. I have to go.
Okay.
Bye, Tink. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
I'll be in touch with you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
And what I came up with was that when you're not growing inwardly, which as human beings we have an inherent need to do, then that gets externalized.
Yeah.
And projected onto, that which is outside has to grow,
Right.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
Well, we're all part of the collective consciousness, though. That's the thing we've got to remember. There's no us and them. We're all connected. And the only way we're going to get through this and create a tip in consciousness is if we have to find a way to be fierce, loving, highly evolved souls who are not shaken from our spiritual center, no matter what crazy things go on. Because those who succumb to hate and prejudice, they're tipping it in one direction, and we've got to tip it in the other direction with love, compassion, forgiveness, and higher consciousness.
For sure.
And that's hard to do.
Well,
any other questions, anybody? Well, let's all go have a nice weekend and try to get through whatever things are going to happen in the world by holding on to our inner daily meditations, our awareness that it's all unfolding perfectly for evolution, and the fact that we will not let anyone tip us into hatred or anger or any of those emotions that are so easy to go into when we look at the world around us. Let's all be mystics, and let's all immerse ourselves in the loving God consciousness that I believe is the core of this universe.
Thank you.
I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Presentation.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.